May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us, brothers and sisters. I pray that you are all well. We will be continuing with Ezekiel chapter 21. And the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Jerusalem, and drop your word toward the holy places, and prophesy against the land of Israel. And say to the land of Israel, This says our Father in heaven, Behold, I am against you, and will draw forth my sword out of his sheath, and will cut off from you the righteous and the wicked. Seeing then that I will cut off from you the righteous and the wicked, therefore will my sword go forth out of his sheath against all flesh, from the south to the north, that all flesh may know that I, your Father in heaven, have drawn forth my sword out of his sheath. It will not return any more. Sigh, therefore, you son of man, with the breaking of your loins, and with bitterness, sigh before their eyes. And it will be, when they say to you, Wherefore sighs you? That you will answer, For the tidings, because it comes, and every heart will melt, and all hands will be feeble, and every spirit will faint, and all knees will be weak as water. Behold, it comes, and will be brought to pass, says our Father in heaven. Again, the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy, and say, This says our Father in heaven, Say a sword is sharpened, and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter, it is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It contemns the rod of my son as every tree. And he has given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished, to give it into the hand of the slayer. Cry and howl, son of man, for it will be upon my people, it will be upon all the princes of Israel. Terrors by reason of the sword will be upon my people. Smite therefore upon your thigh, because it is a trial. And what if the sword contend even the rod? It will be no more, says our Father in heaven. You therefore, son of man, prophesy, and smite your hands together, and let the sword be doubled the third time, the sword of the slain. It is the sword of the great men that are slain, which enters into their privy chambers. I have set the point of the sword against all their gates, that their heart may faint, and their ruins be multiplied. Ah, it is made bright. It is wrapped up for the slaughter. Go you one way or other, either on the right hand or on the left, whithersoever your face is set. I will also smite my hands together, and I will cause my fury to rest. I, your Father in heaven, have said it. The word of our Father in heaven came to me again, saying, Also, you son of man, appoint you 2 ways, that the sword of the king of Babylon may come. Both twain will come forth out of one land. And choose you a place. Choose it at the head of the way to the city. Appoint a way that the sword may come to Rabbath of the Ammonites, and to Judah and Jerusalem, the defenced. For the king of Babylon stood at the parting of the way, at the head of the 2 ways, to use divination. He made his arrows bright. He consulted with images. He looked in the liver. At his right hand was the divination for Jerusalem, to appoint captains, to open the mouth in the slaughter, to lift up the voice with shouting, to appoint battering rams against the gates, to cast them out, and to build a fort. And it will be to them as a false divination in their sight, to them that have sworn oaths. But he will call to remembrance the iniquity, that they may be taken. Therefore, this says our Father in heaven, because you have made your iniquity to be remembered, and that your transgressions are discovered, so that in all your doings your sins do appear, because I say that you are come to remembrance, you will be taken with the hand. And you profane, wicked prince of Israel, whose day is come when iniquity will have an end, this says our Father in heaven, remove the diadem and take off the crown. This will not be the same. Him that is high. This will not be the same. Exalt him that is low, and abase him that is high. I will overturn it, and it will be no more, until he come whose right it is, and I will give it him. And you, son of man, prophesy and say, this says our Father in heaven, concerning the Ammonites, and concerning their reproach, even say you, the sword is drawn, for the slaughter it is furbished to consume because of the glittering. While they see vanity to you, while they divine a lie to you, to bring you upon the necks of them that are slain of the wicked, whose day is come, when your iniquity will have an end, will I cause it to return into his sheath? I will judge you in the place where you were created, in the land of your nativity, and I will pour out my indignation upon you. I will blow against you in the fire of my wrath, and deliver you into the hand of brutish men and skillful to destroy. You will be for fuel to the fire. Your blood will be in the midst of the land. You will be no more remembered. For I, your Father in heaven, have spoken it. Chapter 22. Moreover, the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Now, you son of man, will you judge the bloody city? Yeah, you will show her all her abominations. Then say you, this says our Father in heaven, the city sheds blood in the midst of it, that her time may come, and makes idols against herself to defile herself. Excuse me. You are become guilty in your blood, that you have shed, and have defiled yourself in your idols, which you have made. And you have caused your days to draw near, and are come even to your years. Therefore have I made you a reproach to the heathen, and a mocking to all countries. Those that be near, and those that be far from you, will mock you, which are infamous, and much vexed. Behold, the princes of Israel, every one, were in you to their power to shed blood. In you have they set light by father and mother. In the midst of you have they dealt by oppression with the stranger. In you have they vexed the fatherless and the widow. You have despised my holy things, and have profaned my Sabbaths. And you are men that carry tails to shed blood, and in you they eat upon the mountains. In the midst of you they come, and they commit lewdness. In you have they discovered their father's nakedness. In you have they humbled her that was set apart for pollution. And one has committed abomination with his neighbor's wife, and another has lewdly defiled his neighbor-in-law, and another in you have humbled his sister, his father's daughter. In you have they taken gifts to shed blood. You have taken usury and increase. You have greedily gained of your neighbors by extortion, and have forgotten me, says our Father in heaven. Behold, therefore I have smitten my hand at your dishonest gain which you have made, and at your blood which have been in the midst of you. Can your heart endure, or can your hands be strong in the days that I will deal with you? I, your Father in heaven, have spoken it, and will do it. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and disperse you in the countries, and will consume your filthiness out of you. And you will take your inheritance in yourself in the sight of the heathen, and you will know that I am your Father in heaven. And the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, the house of Israel is to me become dross. All they are brass and tin and iron and lead in the midst of the furnace. There are even the dross of silver. Therefore, this says our Father in heaven, because you are all become dross, behold, therefore, I will gather you into the midst of Jerusalem, as they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace, to blow the fire upon it, to melt it, so will I gather you in my anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you. Yeah, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and you will be melted in the midst thereof. As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, so will you be melted in the midst thereof. And you will know that I, your Father in heaven, have poured out my fury upon you. And the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, say to her, You are the land that is not cleansed, nor rained upon in the day of indignation. There is a conspiracy of her prophets in the midst thereof, like a roaring lion, ravaging the prey. They have devoured souls, they have taken the treasure and precious things. They have made her many widows in the midst thereof. Her priests have violated my law and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane, neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean, and have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths. And I am profane among them. Her princes in the midst thereof are like wolves ravening the prey, to shed blood and to destroy souls, to get dishonest gain. And her prophets have daubed them with untempered mortar, seeing vanity and divining lies to them, saying, This says our Father in heaven, when our Father in heaven has not spoken. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery, and have vexed the poor and needy. Yeah, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. And I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge, and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it. But I found none. Therefore have I poured out my indignation upon them. I have consumed them with the fire of my wrath. Their own way have I recompensed upon their heads, says our Father in heaven. Chapter 23. The word of our Father in heaven came again to me, saying, Son of man, there were 2 women, the daughters of one mother, and they have committed whoredoms in Egypt. And they committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the teats of their virginity. And the names of them were Aholah the elder, and Aholibah her sister. And they were mine, and they bare sons and daughters. They were their names. This was their names. Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem Aholibah. And Aholah played the harlot when she was mine, and she doted on her lovers, on the Assyrians, her neighbors, which were clothed with blue, captains and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding upon horses. This she committed her whoredoms with them, with all them that were the chosen men of Assyria, and with all on whom she doted. With all their idols she defiled herself, neither left she her whoredoms brought from Egypt, for in her youth they lay with her, and they bruised the breasts of her virginity, and poured their whoredom upon her. Wherefore I have delivered her into the hand of her lovers, into the hand of the Assyrians, upon whom she doted. These discovered her nakedness. They took her sons and her daughters, and slew her with the sword, and she became famous among women, for they had executed judgment upon her. And when her sister Aholibah saw this, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms more than her sister in her whoredoms. She doted upon the Assyrians, her neighbors, captains, and rulers, clothed most gorgeously, horsemen riding upon horses, all of them desirable young men. Then I saw that she was defiled, that they took both one way, and that she increased her whoredoms. For when she saw men portrayed upon the wall, the images of the Chaldeans portrayed with vermilion, girded with girdles upon their loins, exceeding and dyed attire upon their heads, all of them princes to look to, after the manner of the Babylonians, of Chaldea, the land of their nativity. And as soon as she saw them with her eyes, she doted upon them, and sent messengers to them into Chaldea. And the Babylonians came to her into the bed of love. They defiled her with their whoredoms, and she was polluted with them, and her mind was alienated from them. So she discovered her whoredoms and discovered her nakedness. Then my mind was alienated from her, like as my mind was alienated from her sister. Yet she multiplied her whoredoms, in calling to remembrance the days of her youth, wherein she had played the harlot in the land of Egypt. For she doted upon their paramours, whose flesh is as the flesh of asses, and whose issue is like the issue of horses. This you called to remembrance the lewdness of your youth, in bruising your teats by the Egyptians for the paps of your youth. Therefore, O Aholibah, this says our Father in heaven, behold, I will raise up your lovers against you, from whom your mind is alienated, and I will bring them against you on every side. The Babylonians, and all the Chaldeans, Pekod, and Shoah, and Koah, and all the Assyrians with them, all of them desirable young men, captains and rulers, great masters and renowned, all of them riding upon horses. And they will come against you with chariots, wagons, and wheels, with an assembly of people, which will set against you buckler and shield and helmet round about. And I will set judgment before them, and they will judge you according to their judgments. And I will set my jealousy against you, and they will deal furiously with you. They will take away your nose and your ears, and your remnant will fall by the sword. They will take your sons and your daughters, and your residue will be devoured by the fire. They will also strip you out of your clothes, and take away your fair jewels. This will I make your lewdness to cease from you, and your whoredom brought from the land of Egypt, so that you will not lift up your eyes to them, nor remember Egypt any more. For this says our Father in heaven, behold, I will deliver you into the hand of them whom you hate, into the hand of them from whom your mind is alienated, and they will deal with you hatefully, and will take away all your labor, and will leave you naked and bare. And the nakedness of your whoredoms will be discovered, both your lewdness and your whoredoms. I will do these things to you because you have gone a whoring after the heathen, and because you are polluted with their idols. You have walked in the way of your sister. Therefore will I give her cup into your hand. This says our Father in heaven, you will drink of your sister's cup deep and large. You will be laughed to scorn and had in derision. It contains much. You will be filled with drunkenness and sorrow with the cup of astonishment, and desolation with the cup of your sister Samaria. You will even drink it and suck it out, and you will break the sherds thereof, and pluck off your own breasts, for I have spoken it, says our Father in heaven. Therefore this says our Father in heaven, because you have forgotten me, and cast me behind your back, therefore bear you also your lewdness and your whoredoms. Our Father in heaven said moreover to me, Son of man, will you judge Aholah and Aholibah? Yeah, declare to them their abominations, that they have committed adultery, and blood is in their hands, and with their idols have they committed adultery, and have also caused their sons, whom they bear to me, to pass for them through the fire to devour them. Moreover, this they have done to me. They have defiled my sanctuary in the same day, and have profaned my Sabbaths. For when they had slain their children to their idols, then they came the same day into the sanctuary to profane it. And lo, this have they done in the midst of my house. And furthermore, that you have sent for men to come from far, to whom a messenger was sent, and lo, they came, for whom you did wash yourself, painted your eyes, and decked yourself with ornaments, and sat upon a stately bed, and a table prepared before it, whereupon you have set my incense and my oil. And a voice of a multitude, being at ease, was with her, and with the men of the common sort were brought Sabeans from the wilderness, which put bracelets upon their hands, and beautiful crowns upon their heads. Then said I to her that was old in adulteries, will they now commit whoredoms with her, and she with them? Yet they went in to her, as they go in to a woman. They play the harlot. So went they into Aholah, and to Aholibah, the lewd women, and the righteous men. They will judge them after the manner of adulteresses, and after the manner of women that shed blood, because they are adulteresses, and blood is in their hands. For this says our Father in heaven, I will bring up a company upon them, and will give them to be removed and spoiled. And the company will stone them with stones, and dispatch them with their swords. They will slay their sons and their daughters, and burn up their houses with fire. This will I cause lewdness to cease out of the land, that all women may be taught not to do after your lewdness. And they will recompense your lewdness upon you, and you will bear the sins of your idols, and you will know that I am your Father in heaven. Chapter 24. Again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, write you the name of the day, even of this same day, the king of Babylon set himself against Jerusalem this same day, and utter a parable to the rebellious house, and say to them, This says our Father in heaven, set on a pot, set it on, and also pour water into it. Gather the pieces thereof into it, even every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder, fill it with choice bones. Take the choice of the flock, and burn also the bones under it, and make it boil well, and let them seethe the bones of it therein. Wherefore this says our Father in heaven, Woe to the bloody city, to the pot, whose scum is therein, and whose scum is not gone out of it. Bring it out piece by piece, let no lot fall upon it. For her blood is in the midst of her. She set it upon the top of a rock. She poured it not upon the ground to cover it with dust, that it might cause fury to come up to take vengeance. I have set her blood upon the top of a rock, that it should not be covered. Therefore this says our Father in heaven, Woe to the bloody city! I will even make the pile for fire great. Heap on wood, kindle the fire, consume the flesh, and spice it well, and let the bones be burned. Then set it empty upon the coals thereof, that the brass of it may be hot, and may burn, and that the filthiness of it may be molten in it, that the scum of it may be consumed. She has wearied herself with lies, and her great scum went not forth out of her. Her scum will be in the fire. And your filthiness is lewdness, because I have purged you, and you were not purged. You will not be purged from your filthiness any more, till I have caused my fury to rest upon you. I, your Father in heaven, have spoken it. It will come to pass, and I will do it. I will not go back, neither will I spare, neither will I repent. According to your ways and according to your doings will they judge you, says our Father in heaven. Also the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, behold, I take away from you the desire of your eyes with a stroke. Yet neither will you mourn nor weep, neither will your tears run down. Forbear to cry, make no mourning for the dead. Bind the tire of your head upon you, and put on your shoes upon your feet, and cover not your lips, and eat not the bread of men. So I spake to the people in the morning, and I even my wife died, and I did in the morning as I was commanded. And the people said to me, Will you not tell us what these things are to us, that you do so? Then I answered them, The word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Speak to the house of Israel. This says our Father in heaven, Behold, I will profane my sanctuary, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your eyes, and that which your soul pities. And your sons and your daughters whom you have left will fall by the sword, and you will do as I have done. You will not cover your lips, nor eat the bread of men. And your tires will be upon your heads, and your shoes upon your feet. You will not mourn nor weep, but you will pine away for your iniquities, and mourn one toward another. This, Ezekiel, is to you a sign. According to all that he has done, will you do. And when this comes, you will know that I am your Father in heaven. Also, you son of man, will it not be in the day when I take from them their strength, the joy of their glory, the desire of their eyes, and that whereupon they set their minds, their sons and their daughters, that he that escapes in that day will come to you to cause you to hear it with your ears. In that day will your mouth be open to him which is escaped, and you will speak and be no more dumb, and you will be a sign to them, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven. Chapter 25. The word of our Father in heaven came again to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against the Ammonites, and prophesy against them, and say to the Ammonites, Hear the word of our Father in heaven. This says our Father in heaven, because you said, Aha, against my sanctuary, when it was profaned, and against the land of Israel, when it was desolate, and against the house of Judah, when they went into captivity. Behold, therefore, I will deliver you to the men of the east for a possession, and they will set their palaces in you, and make their dwellings in you. They will eat your fruit, and they will drink your milk, and I will make Rabbah a stable for camels, and the Ammonites a couching place for flocks. And you will know that I am your Father in heaven. For this says our Father in heaven, because you have clapped your hands and stamped with the feet, and rejoiced in heart with all your despite against the land of Israel. Behold, therefore I will stretch out my hand upon you, and will deliver you from a spoil to the heathen. And I will cut you off from the people, and I will cause you to perish. Out of the countries I will destroy you, and you will know that I am your Father in heaven. This says our Father in heaven, because that Moab is seer, do say, Behold, the house of Judah is like to all the heathen. Therefore, behold, I will open the side of Moab from his cities, which are on his frontiers. The glory of the country, Beth Jeshimoth, Baal Meon, and Kirathaim, to the men of the east with the Ammonites, and will give them in possession, that the Ammonites may not be remembered among the nations. And I will execute judgments upon Moab, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven. This says our Father in heaven, because that Edom has dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and has greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, this says our Father in heaven, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan will fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. They will do in Edom according to my anger and according to my fury, and they will know my vengeance, says our Father in heaven. This says our Father in heaven, because the Philistines have dealt by revenge, and have taken vengeance with a despiteful heart to destroy it for the old hatred. Therefore, this says our Father in heaven, behold, I will stretch out my hand upon the Philistines, and I will cut off the cherethims, and destroy the remnant of the sea coast. And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven, when I will lay my vengeance upon them. Chapter 26. And it came to pass in the 11th year, in the first day of the month, that the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, because that Tyrus has said against Jerusalem, Aha, she is broken, that was the gates of the people, she is turned to me, I will be replenished, now she is laid waste. Therefore, this says our Father in heaven, behold, I am against you, O Tyrus, and will cause many nations to come up against you, as the sea causes his waves to come up. And they will destroy the walls of Tyrus, and break down her towers. I will also scrape her dust from her, and make her like the top of a rock. It will be a place for the spreading of nets in the midst of the sea, for I have spoken it, says our Father in heaven. And it will become a spoil to the nations, and her daughters which are in the field will be slain by the sword, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven. For this says our Father in heaven, behold, I will bring upon Tyrus Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, a king of kings from the north, from horses and from chariots, and with horsemen and companies and much people. He will slay with the sword your daughters in the field, and he will make a fort against you, and cast them out against you, and lift up the buckler against you. And he will set engines of war against your walls, and with his axes he will break down your towers. By reason of the abundance of his horses, their dust will cover you. Your walls will shake at the noise of the horsemen, and of the wheels, and of the chariots, when he will enter into your gates, as men enter into a city wherein is made a breach. With the hoofs of his horses will he tread down all your streets. He will slay your people by the sword, and your strong garrisons will go down to the ground. And they will make a spoil of your riches, and make a prey of your merchandise. And they will break down your walls, and destroy your pleasant houses. And they will lay your stones, and your timber, and your dust in the midst of the water. And I will cause the noise of your songs to cease, and the sound of your harps will be no more heard. And I will make you like the top of a rock. You will be a place to spread nets upon. You will be built no more. For I, your Father in heaven, have spoken it, says our Father in heaven. This says our Father in heaven to Tyrus. Will not the isles shake at the sounds of your fall, when the wounded cry, when the slaughter is made in the midst of you? Then all the princes of the sea will come down from their thrones, and lay away their robes, and put off their broidered garments. They will clothe themselves with trembling. They will sit upon the ground, and will tremble at every moment, and be astonished at you. And they will take up a lamentation for you, and say to you, How are you destroyed, that were inhabited of seafaring men, the renowned city, which was strong in the sea, she and her inhabitants, which caused their terror to be on all that haunt it. Now will the isles tremble in the day of your fall. Yeah, the isles that are in the sea will be troubled at your departure. For this says our Father in heaven, when I will make you a desolate city like the cities that are not inhabited, when I will bring up the deep upon you, and great waters will cover you, when I will bring you down with them that descend into the pit with the people of old time, and will set you in the low parts of the earth, in places desolate of old, with them that go down in the pit, that you be not inhabited. And I will set glory in the land of the living. I will make you a terror, and you will be no more. You, though you be sought for, yet you never be found again, says our Father in heaven. Chapter 27. The word of our Father in heaven came again to me, saying, Now, you son of man, take up lamentation for Tyrus, and say to Tyrus, O you that are situate at the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people from many isles, this says our Father in heaven, O Tyrus, you have said, I am of perfect beauty. Your borders are in the midst of the seas. Your builders have perfected your beauty. They have made all your ship borders of fir trees of Sinar. They have taken cedars from Lebanon to make masts for you. Of the oaks of Bashan have they made your oars. The company of the Asherites have made the benches of ivory brought out of the isles of Chittim. Fine linen with broidered work from Egypt was that which you spread forth to be your sail. Blue and purple from the isles of Elisha was that which covered you. The inhabitants of Zidon and Arvad were their mariners. Your wise men, O Tyrus, that were in you, were your pilots. The ancients of Gabal and the wise men thereof were in you, your caulkers. All the ships of the sea with their mariners were in you to occupy your merchandise. They of Persia and of Lud and Put were in your army. Your men of war, they hanged the shield and helmet in you. They set forth your comeliness. The men of Arvad with your army were upon your walls round about, and the Gamadims were in your towers. They hanged their shields upon your walls round about. They have made your beauty perfect. Tarshish was Tarshish was your merchant, by reason of the multitude of all kind of riches, with silver, iron, tin, and lead. They traded in your fairs. Javan, Tubal, and Meshech, they were your merchants. They traded the persons of men and vessels of brass in your market. They of the house of Togarma traded in your fairs with horses and horsemen and mules. The men of Dedan were your merchants. Many isles were the merchants of your hand. They brought you for a present horns of ivory and ebony. Syria was the merchant by reason of the multitude of the wares of your making. They occupied in your fairs with emeralds, purple, embroidered work, and fine linen, and coral, and agate. Judah and the land of Israel, they were your merchants. They traded in your market wheat of Minnith and Panag, and honey and oil and balm. Damascus was your merchant in the multitude of the wares of your making. For the multitude of all riches in the wine of Helbon and white wool. Dan also and Javan, going to and fro, occupied in your fairs, brought iron, acacia, and calamus were in your market. Dedan was your merchant in precious clothes for chariots. Arabia and all the princes of Kedar, they occupied with you in lambs and rams and goats, and these were they your merchants. The merchants of Sheba and Ramah, they were your merchants. They occupied in your fairs with chief of all spices, and with all precious stones and gold. Haran and Caneh and Eden, the merchants of Sheba, Asher, and Shelmad were your merchants. These were your merchants in all sorts of things, in blue clothes, embroidered work, and in chests of rich apparel, bound with cords and made of cedar. Among your merchandise, the ships of Tarshish did sing of you in your market, and you were replenished and made very glorious in the midst of the seas. Your rowers have brought you into great waters. The east wind has broken you in the midst of the seas. Your riches and your fares, your merchandise, your mariners and your pilots, your caulkers and the occupiers of your merchandise, and all your men of war that are in you, and in all your company which is in the midst of you, will fall into the midst of the seas in the day of your ruin. The suburbs will shake at the sound of the cry of your pilots, and all that handle the oar, the mariners, and all the pilots of the sea will come down from their ships. They will stand upon the land, and will cause their voice to be heard against you, and will cry bitterly, and will cast up dust upon their heads. They will wallow themselves in the ashes, and they will make themselves utterly bald for you, and gird them with sackcloth, and they will weep for you with bitterness of heart and bitter wailing. And in their wailing they will take up a lamentation for you, a lament over you, saying, What city is like Tyrus, like the destroyed in the midst of the sea? When your wares went forth out of the seas, you filled many people. You did enrich the kings of the earth with the multitude of your riches and of your merchandise. In the time when you will be broken by the seas in the depths of the waters, your merchandise and all your company in the midst of you will fall. All the inhabitants of the isles will be astonished at you, and their kings will be so afraid. They will be troubled in their countenance. The merchants among the people will hiss at you. You will be a terror and never will be any more. Chapter 28. The word of our Father in heaven came again to me, saying, Son of man, say to the prince of Tyrus, This says our Father in heaven, because your heart is lifted up, and you have said, I am an Elohim, I sit in the seat of Elohim, in the midst of the seas, yet you are a man, and not Elohim. Though you set your heart as the heart of our Father in heaven, behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from you. With your wisdom and with your understanding, you have forgotten your riches, and have gotten gold and silver into your treasures. By your great wisdom and by your traffic have you increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore, this says our Father in heaven, because you have set your heart as the heart of Elohim, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon you, the terrible of the nations, and they will draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom, and they will defile your brightness. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die from the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Will you yet say before him that slays you, I am Elohim? But you will be a man, and no Elohim in the hand of him that slays you. You will die in the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, says our Father in heaven. Moreover, the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say to him, This says our Father in heaven, You seal up some, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You have been in Eden, the garden of our Father in heaven. Every precious stone was your covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of your tabrets and of your pipes was prepared in you in the day that you were created. You are the anointed cherub that covers, and I have set you so. You were upon the holy mountain of our Father in heaven. You have walked up and down the midst of the stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day that you were created, till iniquity was found in you. By the multitude of your merchandise they have filled the midst of you with violence, and you have sinned. Therefore I will cast you as profane out of the mountain of our Father in heaven, and I will destroy you, O covering a cherub from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You have corrupted your wisdom by reason of your brightness. I will cast you to the ground. I will lay you before kings, that they may behold you. You have defiled your sanctuaries by the multitude of your iniquities, by the iniquity of your traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of you. It will devour you, and I will bring you to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold you. All they that know you among the people will be astonished at you. You will be a terror, and never will you be any more. Again the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Sidon, and prophesy against it, and say, This says our Father in heaven, Behold, I am against you, O Sidon, and I will be glorified in the midst of you. And they will know that I am your Father in heaven, when I will have executed judgments in her, and will be sanctified in her. For I will send into her pestilence and blood into her streets, and the wounded will be judged in the midst of her by the sword upon her on every side, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven. And there will be no more a pricking briar to the house of Israel, nor any grieving thorn of all that are round about them that despise them. And they will know that I am your Father in heaven. This says our Father in heaven, when I will have gathered the house of Israel from the people among whom they are gathered, and will be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen, then will they dwell in their land that I have given to my servant Jacob, and they will dwell safely therein, and will build houses and plant vineyards. Yeah, they will dwell with confidence, when I have executed judgments upon all those that despise them round about them, and they will know that I am their Father in heaven. Chapter 29. In the 10th year, in the 10th month, in the 12th day of the month, the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and prophesy against him and against all Egypt. Speak and say, This says our Father in heaven, Behold, I am against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lies in the midst of his rivers, which has said, My river is my own, and I have made it for myself. But I will put hooks in your jaws, and I will cause the fish of your rivers to stick to your scales, and I will bring you up out of the midst of your rivers, and all the fish of your rivers will stick to your scales, and I will leave you thrown into the wilderness, you and all the fish of your rivers. You will fall upon the open fields. You will not be brought together, nor gathered. I have given you for meat to the beasts of the field and to the fowls of the heaven. And all the inhabitants of Egypt will know that I am your Father in heaven, because they have been a staff of reed to the house of Israel. When they took hold of you by your hand, you did break and rend all their shoulder. And when they leaned upon you, you brake, and made all their loins to be at a stand. Therefore this says our Father in heaven, Behold, I will bring a sword upon you, and cut off man and beast out of you, and the land of Egypt will be desolate and waste, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven, because he has said, The river is mine, and I have made it. Behold, therefore, I am against you, and against your rivers, and I will make the land of Egypt utterly waste and desolate, from the tower of Sinai even to the border of Ethiopia. No foot of man will pass through it, nor foot of beast will pass through it, neither will it be inhabited 40 years. And I will make the land of Egypt desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and her cities among the cities that are laid waste will be desolate 40 years. And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations, and will disperse them through the countries. Yet this says our Father in heaven, At the end of 40 years will I gather the Egyptians from the people, whether they were scattered. And I will bring again the captivity of Egypt, and will cause them to return into the land of Pathros, into the land of their habitation, and they will be there a base kingdom. It will be the basest of the kingdoms. neither will it exalt itself any more above the nations, for I will diminish them, that they will no more rule over the nations. And it will be no more the confidence of the house of Israel, which brings their iniquity to remembrance, when they will look after them, but they will know that I am your Father in heaven. And it came to pass in the 27th year, in the 1st month, in the 1st day of the month, the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, caused his army to serve a great service against Tyrus. Every head was made bald, and every shoulder was peeled. Yet had he no wages, nor his army for Tyrus, for the service that he had served against it. Therefore this says our Father in heaven, Behold, I will give the land of Egypt to Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, and he will take her multitude, and take her spoil, and take her prey, and it will be the wages for his army. I have given him the land of Egypt for his labor wherewith he served against it, because they wrought for me, says our Father in heaven. In that day will I cause the horn of the house of Israel to bud forth, and I will give you the opening of the mouth in the midst of them, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven. Chapter 30. The word of our Father in heaven came again to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, This says our Father in heaven, How woe worth the day, for the day is near, even the day of our Father in heaven is near, a cloudy day. It will be the time of the heathen, and the sword will come upon Egypt, and great pain will be in Ethiopia, when the slain will fall in Egypt, and they will take away her multitude, and her foundations will be broken down. Ethiopia and Libya and Lydia, and all the mingled people, and Chub, and the men of the land that is in league, will fall with them by the sword. This says our Father in heaven. They also that uphold Egypt will fall, and the pride of her power will come down from the tower of Sinai. Will they fall in it by the sword, says our Father in heaven. And they will be desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and their cities will be in the midst of the cities that are wasted. And they will know that I am your Father in heaven, when I set fire in Egypt, and when all her helpers will be destroyed. In that day will messengers go forth from me in ships to make the careless Ethiopians afraid, and great pain will come upon them, as in the day of Egypt. For, lo, it comes. This says our Father in heaven. I will also make the multitude of Egypt to cease by the hand of Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, he and his people with him. The terrible of the nations will be brought to destroy the land, and they will draw their swords against Egypt, and fill the land with the slain. And I will make the rivers dry, and sell the land into the hand of the wicked. And I will make the land waste, and all that is therein, by the hand of strangers. I, your Father in heaven, have spoken it. This says our Father in heaven. I will also destroy the idols, and I will cause their images to cease out of Noph, and there will be no more prince of the land of Egypt, and I will put fear in the land of Egypt, and I will make Pathros desolate, and will set fire in Zoan, and will execute judgments in No, and I will pour my fury upon Sin, the strength of Egypt, and I will cut off the multitude of No, and I will set fire in Egypt. Sin will have great pain, and No will be rent asunder, and Noph will have distresses daily. The young men of Aven and of Pibeseth will fall by the sword, and these cities will go into captivity. At Tephanees also the day will be darkened, when I will break there the yokes of Egypt, and the pomp of her strength will cease in her. As for her, a cloud will cover her, and her daughters will go into captivity. This will I execute judgments in Egypt, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven. And it came to pass in the 11th year, in the 1st month, in the 17th day of the month, that the word of our Father in heaven came to me, saying, Son of man, I have broken the arm of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and lo, it will not be bound up, to be healed, to be a roller, to bind it, to make it strong, to hold the sword. Therefore, this says our Father in heaven, Behold, I am against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and will break his arms, the strong, and that which was broken, and I will cause the sword to fall out of his hand, and I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations, and will disperse them through the countries. And I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon, and put my sword in his hand. But I will break Pharaoh's arm, and he will groan before him with the groanings of a deadly wounded man. But I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon, and the arms of Pharaoh will fall down, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven, when I will put my sword into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he will stretch it out upon the land of Egypt. And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations, and disperse them among the countries, and they will know that I am your Father in heaven. And Father willing, brothers and sisters, we will continue with Ezekiel chapter 31. May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us. Repent, the kingdom of heaven is near. Peace.